How's it going, Jack Tackers, and welcome back to another video for you guys. Today I'm going to be ranking all 10 2023 Best Picture nominees from the worst to the best. Can't believe that there were 10 whole movies nominated for the Oscars this year for Best Picture. Pretty crazy. Granted, this isn't like a super rare thing to occur for there to be 10. It's just been a few years since 10 movies has been nominated. Now, I was lucky enough to actually have seen all of them at this point, and the Oscars are this Sunday, so I thought now would be a good time to go over all of them and kind of give my thoughts on each. Now, before we get into this ranking, I do briefly want to mention I don't love all of these movies, but for the majority of the films, I think they're pretty solid, and I love some of these movies for sure. But I will say the bottom two, I don't really care for that much. But the rest of the list is relatively interchangeable, meaning I do like a lot of these movies, but yeah, I would say the bottom two, not a big fan of them. And I'll go into why in just a second. So just keep that in mind if I do happen to rank one of your favorite movies a bit lower. That doesn't mean I hate the movie or anything, because apart from the bottom two, I like all of these movies. And some of them, especially when we get to the top of the list, I absolutely adore. So there's a lot of good movies to go over, and it's a pretty solid category here, and I'm very interested to see which one will end up winning. But yeah, without further ado, let's actually jump on in to the ranking. At number 10, I have Women Talking. Now, I'll be honest, I totally expected this to be my least favorite in this category. Now, I will say it has great music. It's actually, the music's done by the same composer that did the music for Joker, which I think is kind of funny. And there also are fantastic performances in this film. However, this is simply not my kind of movie. It's very boring. I mean, it's just a drab, dreary movie. And it's not something that I think would be super rewatchable, which is definitely something I look in when I watch a movie. I look for rewatchability. That's not the only thing I look for, but it is one of the things I look for. And this movie I don't really feel like super rewatchable. Also, the color palette is really bland, and it does serve a purpose because, again, it is a drab movie, and the colors really adds to the tone, but it still doesn't make for a pleasant viewing experience. And again, apart from the music and acting, I can't say I liked much about this movie. Again, simply not my kind of movie. I can understand why people would enjoy it, and but I just, for the most part, I thought it was relatively bland and just too dark. It's a dark, messed up movie, and just it wasn't fun. And I don't know. I'm sorry. It's my least favorite. Anyways, at number 9, I have Tar. Now, I have similar issues with this movie as I do with Women Talking, and similar praises. The positives about this movie are that Cate Blanchett is really mesmerizing in here, and she gives a fantastic performance. Also, the cinematography is relatively impressive. I loved a lot of those one-shots. It's really interesting that they were able to pull some of them off. And when you pair that again with Cate Blanchett's performance, it really adds a lot to the film. However, I do think this movie is far too long. It's about 2 hours and 40 minutes around there. It could have been shortened by like maybe 20 minutes. And some people might not think that's that big of a deal, 20 minutes too long. But 20 minutes definitely does make a difference. Also, again, I would say it's just super boring. And like Women Talking might just not be my kind of movie. But I would say it's better than Women Talking. A lot of people have said that Tar is a slow burn, and I do actually enjoy slow burn stories. Better Call Saul is a prime example of a slow burn done right. However, with this story, I don't know if it quite works. And I found myself nearly falling asleep at multiple moments in this movie. But if it weren't for Cate Blanchett and the cinematography, it probably would be below Women Talking. So there you go. Anyways, at number 8, I have Triangle of Sadness. Now, this is where we start getting into the good stuff. I'll be honest. Apart from those two, I think the rest of these are pretty decent. Now, Triangle of Sadness is a relatively bizarre movie with an interesting plot structure and interesting premise. But and I also feel like this could benefit from rewatching it because there's a lot to analyze. There's a lot of themes thrown into this movie about class, and I think it is interesting, and there's just a lot to analyze, I feel like. Very interesting. I would say also maybe it is a little too long. That would be probably one of my negatives as well. It's not that big of a deal, though. It didn't feel super, super long, but I will say a lot of the yacht stuff, which is the middle portion of the movie, and unfortunately, the majority of the film, a lot of the yacht stuff felt kind of boring and, I hate to say it, gross. I think they advertised this in the trailer, but, there's some vomiting in this movie. And it's gross, and I know that might be like a severe nitpick to some people. Like, it might not be worth bringing up, but it goes on for at least like 10 minutes of the movie, which is just far too much for vomiting scenes. I mean, it's gross, okay? I'm sorry. It got me a little queasy. And but to be fair, not only was the vomiting stuff kind of disgusting, I do think a lot of the second act of this movie was unnecessary. Again, I don't know. I feel like this movie could have definitely been shortened. But all the stuff when they get to the desert island, that was really interesting. I really loved that part of the movie. And for the most part, I thought this movie was good. Just, a few little negatives here with a lot of the stuff that takes place during the second act of the movie, but overall, decent. But yeah, that's number 8. And at number 7, I have the Banshees of Inisherin. Now, a lot of people have already talked about this movie and how it has great performances. And, I gotta talk about that. Of course, you have Colin Farrell in here. He's just a goat. He's amazing in this movie. Also, this is a relatively heartbreaking movie, weirdly enough. But it's kind of like a dark comedy as well. And it's just a very, very interesting tone for this movie. Sometimes I'm laughing, sometimes I'm low-key crying, and it's just sad what happens between these two friends. It's a very random movie and kind of just almost peaceful, but in a weird way. Again, it's a very interesting movie and relatively thought-provoking. I believe there's a lot of, metaphors about the Irish Civil War, and I don't know all that much about the Irish Civil War, but I did think it was pretty interesting how it tackles some of those themes. And also, I did like the cinematography, I thought it was pretty well done. And the setting of this island of Inisherin, which I believe is actually a fictional place. I don't think Inisherin's a real place in Ireland. And you also had the woman from Better Call Saul who plays, bringing Better Call Saul up again, but the woman who plays Mike's daughter-in-law was in this movie. And I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool. She gave a great performance as well. And Barry Keoghan, Brendan Gleeson, a lot of great performances in here. And I enjoyed this movie a fair amount. I really did, yeah. Anyways, at number 6, I have Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, this movie, some people might think this is a bit too low to place this film, but just understand, I do enjoy the movie. It's very unique film, and it's out there, it's pretty fun, it's entertaining, a little wacky. I will say, though, it might be a little overrated, but I still do enjoy this movie. A lot of people have said this might be like it's pretty much the movie of 2022. A lot of people have said this is like the best film of the year, and while I don't necessarily disagree, I just don't 100% agree. That doesn't make any sense, but yeah, I do think maybe it's just a little overrated. And simply put, I just like the other movies above this one a little more. But, it's just fun. It's goofy. I'm glad movies like this exist. But there also is still emotional moments in here. It's not 100% fun, especially towards the end of the film. There's some heartfelt scenes in here, and I really appreciated that. And it's just, it's fun. It's really cool. It's, again, really cool that movies like this exist. And I do like it. It's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. But, yeah. Anyways, at number 5, I have Top Gun Maverick. Now, I didn't know if I was going to like this movie going into it because I liked Top Gun. It was a good movie. But I didn't know how a legacy sequel for that movie would work. And I'm sure a lot of people felt kind of skeptical going into this movie as well. They didn't know if it was going to be good or not. And it is. It's a good movie. And I think a lot of people were surprised by just how good it was. Tom Cruise basically saved cinema with this movie. And, I like to clown on Tom Cruise. I do like to clown on him because he's a Scientologist. And he's kind of a scary guy in a weird way. But, you got to respect the guy for what he does. He has a lot of passion for movies. And I got to respect that for sure. And I mean, there's just some great action sequences in here with all the planes flying. They're actually flying the planes. And Miles Teller, he's awesome. And a lot of emotional, heartfelt moments in here as well. And it just felt like this was a true cultural reset. This movie, it really was, and it was good. It just, as a legacy sequel as well, it was just so good, and it really felt like just amazing. It really was amazing in many aspects. But again, I do like the movies above this a bit more, because this is ranked only number 5. I'm sorry, but yeah, I thought this was a really solid movie. Maybe I don't think I liked it as much as some other people. Some people think, masterpiece. I don't know if it was necessarily a masterpiece, but I did enjoy it, and I'm glad a lot of people really love it, and I can completely understand why people love it so much. It's good. I like it for sure. Anyways, at number 4, I have Avatar: The Way of Water. Now, I had been looking forward to this movie for so long. I was an Avatar fan for the longest time, and some people weren't really an Avatar fan anymore. I've always been an Avatar fan. I've always been waiting for this movie, and I was so excited to see it, and it definitely delivered. I mean, first of all, just amazing digital effects. Very, very beautiful movie. It's absolutely gorgeous. And is that my main positive with the film? Yeah, probably. It still has some good story elements and some good action, especially towards the end of the movie. Got surprisingly violent as well, in my opinion. I mean, it's still PG-13, but, it was very exciting to watch some of that stuff towards the end in the final climax. And James Cameron, he's a GOAT. He did a great job of directing this movie, and I love the world building. We got introduced to the new Avatar tribe, or the new Na'vi tribe. Actually, I don't know if they're called Na'vi or not. I think they all are Na'vi, but they're different tribes. The water Na'vi. But I loved the design for that character, and all the creature designs of all these new little creatures and all those whale-like creatures that we saw in the water. It's pretty mesmerizing stuff. It was a beautiful movie to look at. Really enjoyed it. And it was 3 hours long, actually over 3 hours long, but it was still worth it to watch all of it in the cinema, and I had a great experience watching it. And that's ranked at number 4. Is what it is. Anyways, at number 3, I have The Fabelmans. Now, surprisingly enough, this is only number 3, but number 3 out of 10 still pretty decent. And I really did love this movie. I mean, these top 3 films, I really love. I really do. It's a very special movie, this film. This is Steven Spielberg's, childhood. And I think that's something that he always has kind of tackled in his movies, maybe subconsciously, especially in like films like E.T., where his father figure is absent, and he had a lot of problems with his father, and it's tackled in this movie as well. And we kind of find out that maybe his father actually wasn't like that much of an antagonistic figure in his life that we were led to believe. And, this a lot of really cool stuff. And there's a lot of heart and passion put into this movie. It's very interesting as well, and relatively wholesome. You also have great performances. Paul Dano as his dad was just great. Michelle Williams as his mom. And, it's a very funny movie as well. I mean, it's one of Steven Spielberg's better movies. I'm going to say it's probably maybe in his top 10. Granted, I haven't seen all of his movies, but I've seen a lot of them. I've seen maybe like 25. And yes, he's made more than 25. He's made a lot of movies. But this movie means a lot to me. And obviously it means a lot to Spielberg and many other people. And it's very inspiring as someone who wants to be a filmmaker. And it's just really good. It's a very, very special movie. Anyways, at number 2, I have Elvis. I'm sorry, I love this movie. I mean, I hate to say it, I've already talked about this movie a few times on the channel in my, best films of 2022 ranked, but this movie genuinely reminded me of what movies are supposed to be like. I mean, I saw this in the cinema, and it feels like a movie. It feels so lively. There's so much life to it. Baz Luhrmann is a madman. I mean, he just goes off in this movie, and the editing is just off the charts. And Austin Butler's amazing. I love Austin Butler in this movie. I know a lot of people have already talked about it. Some people might think his performance is a little overrated. I don't care, though. Austin Butler is just fantastic. And there's emotional moments in here as well, especially towards the end. And I think a large part of my love for this movie is because I'm just such a huge Elvis fan. and that definitely contributes to my enjoyment of this movie. I feel like if you don't love Elvis like a lot, like I do, you probably just think, oh yeah, it's a good movie, whatever. But I just love Elvis. I love hearing the songs. It's just a very interesting movie as well, finding out more about his life and stuff. And it's probably, I mean, I haven't seen some of the other Elvis biopics out there, but I couldn't imagine any of the other Elvis biopics being better than this one. And I'm so glad this movie exists. It's just, it's one of the best movies of the year for sure. But it's not at number one, because I saw a movie that just destroyed me. And I think it's better than Elvis, because at number one, I have All Quiet on the Western Front. Now, weirdly enough, I'm not a huge fan of war movies, typically. And I didn't really know going into this one if I was going to like it. So I think that kind of helped my, I guess, quote-unquote enjoyment, although I didn't really enjoy this movie because it's dark as hell. But I went into this movie with low expectations because I like certain war movies. Some war movies, though, they're just boring. But this movie was not boring. And again, it just kind of destroyed me. First of all, you have beautiful cinematography in here. It's beautifully shot. Y'all, it's a very devastating movie, though. And I cried, I'm not gonna lie. The score was also incredibly intense and added to this movie. Kind of sounded like something from Transformers. But it was, oh my God, it's fantastic. And this movie just felt very real. And it was very sad. It just, I don't know. There's also some great war sequences, especially that one scene with the tanks in No Man's Land. It's just very impressive stuff overall. And again, I know some people might not want this one to win. I've heard maybe a few pieces of negative feedback out there online. But overall, I just thought this movie was pretty damn incredible. And I wouldn't really be upset if it won Best Picture. Although, weirdly enough, I still kind of want Elvis or The Fabelmans to win. I don't think Elvis is going to win. But in terms of like who I actually think has the best chance of winning, I think Fabelmans has a decent chance of winning. But I think also Everything Everywhere All at Once has a decent chance of winning. I don't know. That's just my 10 cents. But of course, let me hear your thoughts and who you think will win in this category. And also, if you've seen all of these movies, let me hear your ranking of all of them down in the comments below. I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say about some of these movies. I mean, even if you haven't seen all of them, just let me hear some of your thoughts on some of these. Just tell me your favorite or something, your least favorite, stuff like that. Because I'm definitely curious to see what you guys have to say. But yeah, that's all 10 of them ranked. Let me hear your thoughts on this ranking down below. And yeah, if you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.